play DFS, talk on the awesemo.com channel, depending on your medium. But hello now to the Periscope peeps, the YouTube peeps that will be slowly trickling in on this lovely December 14th morning. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope you found some success on last night's slate. Let me know in the YouTube chat while you're popping in here. How much do you hate Mo Harkless? Do you hate him as much as I do? I'd imagine you don't. Oh, NBA Strategy Show presented by Yahoo Sports. Myself, EMAC, we're here breaking it down. 7-game slate for Saturday. Slightly late lock, 7:30 tip-off for Raptors Nets. EMAC, how's it going, man?
It's good. It's actually good. I've been up since like 4:30. I'd take the wife to the airport, came back, slept for an hour, and then I've been up. So I've already had my nap today. Hashtag old guy life.
I got up at 6. No rest for me. Turned out some soccer projections for Liverpool. Watched some soccer. Prepped basketball. Yet here I am. I'm ready to talk. I'm in my groove now. I'm ready for some NBA. I wish lock was like an hour from now. I could really get into this. Unfortunately, it's quite a few hours from now. So I got to figure out if I'm actually going to play tonight or not. Bye, wife. Well, let's talk some basketball. I've got
I've got Sean Logan in chat says I had no idea EMAC was older. Good stuff.
Older
like how?
Yeah.
I'm not 50 yet. I am still your old pal EMAC. We talked about this on the show I did with Chris Randone. They were giving me, they like to do the hashtag boomer. Yeah, I'm Generation X. My dad was a boomer, so I'm not even close to that yet. But the funny thing is I've always been your old pal EMAC. I kind of owned it because when I met all these guys when I first started out, everybody was like just out of college, or it was these young guys, kids, I would call them, that were finishing up poker and coming into this medium. So I'd never played poker. I've never downloaded a song. I've never ripped a CD, etc., etc. So the poker world was not even near where I was, but I was laughing because I was, 10 or 15 years older than everybody. There is at least one tout that you all know at every one of the major sites that's actually older than me. They just don't ever talk about it. Yeah. I know who they are. They know I know. But they let me be the standard bearer of the old guy crowd.
That's good. That's good. Solid representation. I'll give you that. Mini winter main event last night. 400K prize pool. 100K to first on DraftKings. Utica takes it down. Giant Squid in second. Dink Piece in third. 1-800-EDDIE coming in seventh. Much better day for the 150 maxers than we've had over the past couple days. Hope you had James Harden, 84.25 fantasy points, 6.7x, 12.6. Probably still needed a little bit of him on DraftKings. Paul George went crazy. Kawhi Leonard, hell of a game. LeBron salvaged a little bit. Towns was good. Thought Embiid was going to smash. Got quiet a little bit later. Jaren Jackson Jr. with a monster day. 55 fantasy points. Big time 9x value there. Two guys hit 10x or higher on DK. Do you know who they were?
On DK, 10x or higher. Marquise Chris.
Correct. 11.3, 42.75 fantasy points. 30% owned.
And I'm going to guess I didn't have the other person, so I don't know who it was. Or they weren't in my main lineup anyway.
They were not in your main lineup. They were not in anybody's main lineup. JaVale McGee, 35 fantasy points at 3,500. Yeah.
Not even close. Not even close.
Jaren Jackson with a big day. Damian Lee. Alex Len, 8.3x. Derek Jones Jr. been playing monster minutes. Jacob Evans getting 25 fantasy points at the flat minimum. We take a look at the winning lineup from Utica. Melton. Pedestrian day, but got about what you needed at 3,900. Terrence Ross. Again, pedestrian day, got about what you needed. Bojan Bogdanovic, 40 points. He was the sole Jazz guy that I liked yesterday, so that makes me feel a little bit better. Jaren Jackson Jr. just going absolutely crazy at only 8% owned. Marquise Chris, obviously a chalk play that worked out quite well. Buddy Hield with a big one, 56.5. Paul George, 66. Karl Anthony Towns at 64. I don't see Harden anywhere at the top, but the first lineup,
I don't know if I literally had 0 Harden on my DraftKings lineup.
Fifth. He was in the 5th best lineup.
Yeah. The only place I had Harden was in the tiers contest. I'm sure he was a tier 1 player.
Yeah.
So I had him there, but I think 35% of what I was doing. But my main lineup, Josh, nailed it. So I call it my main lineup because I play, maybe 10%, maybe 20% in quote cash games. Everything else is tournaments. So I pick through the head-to-heads. I grab a few names of people I know and other touts and stuff just so I can have fun and kind of get a barometer for what I'm doing that day because I write the cash building blocks article. So I want to play it. I want to make sure that I'm doing a good job. And then I play a fair number of 3-mans as well with that lineup and some triple ups, some quints. Yesterday, I had 348 with my main lineup on DraftKings. Where would that have finished in this contest?
33rd.
Oh, I got 33rd in the NBA and won with this. So fun story there.
Consistency.
Yeah. But I had the 3 guys you just mentioned, Towns, Paul George, and Buddy Hield. So those were good. Buddy Hield was my tournament guy in our syllabus. Karl Anthony Towns was the primetime player in the free cash game building blocks article. I had Marquise Chris. I put him as risky chalk, so I wanted to point this out. Oh, we should drop the link to my article in chat. It's always fun. So let me do that. Because the interesting thing about this is, so I do 3 sections in here, and I haven't written today's written. Boy, Tony written maybe, but written no. I've not done the article yet for today because I need a little bit of news. It's kind of hard to get these out since we're doing the cheat sheets and stuff prior to this, but I like to go back and I think it's valuable just to look at this one because at the very bottom section you do have the link, instructions, and promo code on how to get $30 of Yahoo Sports Rewards points with your first deposit over there at Yahoo. YSRPs are their form of site cash, and if you deposit $30 using our promo code and link, they will match your first $30, and you can use those immediately. So I like to look and see what I did. So I have primetime player, which I think is, and the primetime player holds up throughout the day. They're usually a cornerstone that identify that I want to go. I want a good value. I said it was going to be Terrence Ross. He was adequate. He ended up, I think, 24 fantasy points. It wasn't the best, but he was relatively cheap. And when we did the first run of the ownership, he was quite popular, about 30% across the board of all the sites, a little lower on FanDuel. And then I had my risky value, which was Marquise Chris. And people just look at that, and I get half the people say, "You're an idiot. You said he was risky and he crushed." And then I get a bunch of other people when on the other side, you said that guy was a terrible play. I'm like, no, you didn't read anything. So my point being, you want to read this because I said he's a risky value, and here's why. Then, and I go on to list his 4 fouls per 36 minutes. He played Utah twice this season, only had 2 fouls in 38.5 minutes. Gee, that's pretty good. And then I said the downside is you've got Kevon Looney, Amari Spellman, Willie Cauley-Stein, and whomever else they called up. And then in the next section, the Fantasy Cruncher tip of the day, which I have screenshots telling you how to use Fantasy Cruncher in different ways. I said, let's limit ourselves to just one of these 4 Golden State Warriors guys, because who the hell knows what's going to happen. Circling all the way back, everybody I played in cash, except for one person, had 2 of the Golden State cheap guys. Most of them were Spellman and Chris. Spellman killed them. I don't even think Willie Cauley-Stein scored, or he hadn't, at least as the game was getting close to wrapping up last night. So kind of point being, I like to go back and look at this article because it's sort of a roadmap on what we're looking at, and it's a nice little look. And then you can make fun of me or not make fun of me, and that's fine. It's a national pastime here. But it's something worth looking at each day, even. And I say this because I know you post the link in Slat or in the chat. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's yesterday's article." No, it is. But there's very valuable stuff you can look at in it, and it's a 4-minute, 5-minute read tops.
There we go. Apparently, I missed Southampton's lineup in soccer projection, so apologies for that. Uploading now. Also lets me know that I don't have any Southampton, which is incredibly problematic given their status on the slate today. Making me
while you're
a little
fixing
nervous.
that, let me talk a little bit about what we've got coming up today. So we have, as you mentioned, the 7:30 start. We've got 8 games on the slate. You'll get live before lock at 6:30, maybe 6:15. I'll ask Eddie when he wants to go on for that. But you're going to be fully covered on this. You got the deep dive article that's going to be behind the paywall. We've got projections. You have the cash game building blocks. We've got free cheat sheets. All of that. We're going to have the Fred Van Elite contest. So for those of you that want to get into Osmo, if you have an Osmo avatar and finish first in that contest, you get 30 free days of Osmo premium content. You got to message me. I've had the last 3 people that have won it said, I never got my free content. I'm like, I don't know your DraftKings name. I don't know your Osmo name. How is this magically going to happen? Let's be savvy. If you're an Osmo member already, hit me up in Slack. If you're not, tag me in a tweet and we'll get you squared away. But I got to know about that. So he's doubtful today. I don't think he's going to play. We'll see what happens. Kawhi is on a back-to-back. He's not played a back-to-back since he was with San Antonio. I don't think he's going to play. So that's going to shape a lot of our slate today. Patrick Beverley dealing with a concussion. So we don't know if he's cleared the protocol yet or not. We should know more later this afternoon. I kind of think he'll sit this one out. Feels like going against Chicago, we could give a couple of these Clippers a night off or two. That's going to make George, we'll talk about him, very, very popular. Lou Williams out last night with a sore calf. I suspect he may play today. It was kind of like Kawhi's not playing Kawhi's playing tonight. He won't tomorrow. Let's give you the night off because clearly, you're dinged up. So those are some of the key things. Russell Westbrook, he's got a back-to-back. Now, I believe he has played on back-to-backs a couple times this year, but always a risk for him of sitting out. And
I projected him out for today.
Yeah, this is Detroit. It's not going to be overly scary. They're favored by 7. I suspect that feels like a line that he's probably not going to play. We don't know what's going on with Giannis Antetokounmpo. We'll talk about that. Eric Bledsoe bruised his shin. Justice Winslow and Goran Dragic are still out. So that means we're going to be talking about Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn as they get their price continues to tick up. JaMychal Green dealing with sore tailbone. He's been out for the last few games. I don't think he's going to play. Ja Morant should play. Didn't play last night. This is a back-to-back, but they are more or less treating him with kid gloves because, wait for it, he's kind of going to be the franchise, and he is a kid. These are pretty good. And Devin Booker, bruised arm. So we got a lot of stuff to think about. And if you're in a league of people not paying attention, DeAndre Ayton has 2 or 3 games left on his suspension. Who's the other guy that was suspended?
Wilson Chandler?
No.
I mean, yes.
Well, yeah. I don't. Who knows? I had forgotten he's even in the league. Sorry, Wilson Chandler. What did he get dinged for?
EDs.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I would have guessed it'd be other things, but
he was rehabbing and I don't know, took something. You're looking for John Collins, by the way.
Thank you very much. He is 6 games away? I think 5 games. He's getting pretty close as well.
I won't know until it happens.
If you're in season-long leagues, keep an eye on that. You might want to grab some of those guys off waivers if you've got other league mates are not paying attention or you have short benches. Let me look here and see if I can find John Collins. All right. Did you get the stuff up?
I am ready to go. Soccer projections are uploaded. I have recrunched and re-uploaded my own lineups. Go James Madison, by the way. I'm ready to dive in if you are. We got 7 games to take a look at.
Collins has 4 more games on his suspension.
There we go.
And now I'm ready. Okay.
Here we go. Toronto Raptors, Brooklyn Nets. Raptors 7.5-point favorites at home against Brooklyn. Still don't know the status on Fred VanVleet. I have him out as of right now. I believe he is officially listed as doubtful, although there's some ambiguity in that term, evidently. So I am projecting him out. On the Brooklyn side, standard affair. Still no Kyrie. Still no Karis LeVert. LeVert slowly working his way back. We take a look at... Oh, there's no way I projected or pasted that ownership correctly. That is the same stuff in both columns. I just don't know which one's right and which one's wrong. Like, there's no way that the ownership on FanDuel and DraftKings is identical on both DK and FanDuel. DraftKings house 32.8. That means I screwed up the FanDuel one. Yeah, there's 40% James Harden. I want to talk about that one, that's for sure. All right, now we've got it. So Siakam and Lowry, both in the mid to high 20s. We've got Norm Powell, OG, Serge, all picking up a little bit of love. As I look at this right now, the guy that stands out most to me is Norm Powell on FanDuel. This is, again, if Fred VanVleet is out. He's $4,900, $400 cheaper there. He would be my most exposed Raptor across both sites. No real issue with Siakam or Lowry. Prefer Siakam. That's kind of it for me. I don't see this as a wildly appealing spot for Toronto.
All right. Let's see if I want to change anything with that. I think Siakam's interesting. Dinwiddie a little bit. I think he's in contention as kind of one of your core cash game plays. Nice base. We'll see what happens when Kawhi. Who the hell is Kawhi? When Kyrie. it's Kawhi and Kyrie combined, I guess. We'll see what happens when Kyrie comes back. It's just weird that so many of these guys that change teams just aren't playing because of injury, et cetera, et cetera. So this has been a really weird season. If you think you could create a literal all-star team from the East and the West of everybody who's out.
Yeah.
Curry and Thompson and Durant and just going on down the list, it's been pretty crazy. And to think of the guys that have stepped into the forefront here, with Luka Doncic, Joel Embiid, just maximizing his powers more. Karl Anthony Towns, by the way, averaging the ninth most three-point attempts in the league and the 15th best percentage at 41.5%. I mean, the machine keeps chugging along, but there's a lot of good players that aren't available. This game, not overly exciting. Toronto favored by 7 or 8, depending on where you're looking. Decent over under between 290 and 220. I suspect Van Vliet's out. For the Fred Van Vliet contest, I will be playing whoever starts in his place, which I guess will be Powell. I did last time. People got mad at me. They're like, Van Vliet was out and you didn't play him. I'm like, I never said I was going to play him. I said, if he's ruled out before tip-off, I won't play him.
Who did you used to play? What, Jeremy Lin was last year, right?
I would put in Jeremy Lin or whomever it was. So the whole thing of this thing started for me just to be at a disadvantage, and I always called him Fred Van Elite as a joke. And until the finals, it pretty much was a joke. Now it's kind of, a kid was born, he's flipped a switch, and he's been phenomenal.
Now he's just shockingly good at basketball.
Well, because he's a shocker. Wichita State shocker. There we go. You set me up for that one.
I did, but he didn't mean to either.
Yeah, he's someone that when he's out, you gotta play Kyrie or Kyle Lowry. Is where I'm wrapping this one up, and I think Lowry, if Van Vliet is out, Lowry's a cash core play, in my opinion, on tonight's slate. So that's all I've really got on this one. But I will drop the pinned tweet of mine so you can get in. I just set up the Fred Van Elite contest. So again, as I mentioned, if you win that with an Osmo avatar, you are eligible for 30 free days of Osmo premium content. And we don't have the 50% off promo anymore.
That is dead.
Goodbye. You slept on it. That was like the best promo in the industry, truthfully.
And it is
second best. The Fred Van Elite is the best. So.
Yeah, no more 50% off. It's going to be coming something else in the near future. Not entirely. We're going to have all sorts of like Christmas giveaways and stuff. So keep your eyes posted for that. But yeah, 50% off your first month is no longer a promotion here.
Anthony Marcus says, I just chose his future son's name. It'll be a combination of Kyrie and Kawhi. I'm a man of the people. I'm so glad I can help. Blessings upon your house when that event occurs.
I don't have much else to say about this Toronto team. So much hinges on Van Vliet being out, but yeah, Norm Powell on FanDuel to me is the clear play, and he's not getting nearly enough ownership given the makeup of the slate, but we shall see. Although
Jared Allen,
would you rather have Siakam or Lowry on DraftKings? They're separated by $100.
I think I'd still rather have Lowry.
Okay.
In this one, I don't hate Siakam at all. I think you could, and yes, you can play them both on the same team. It's just that while I like Lowry, there's a lot of guards kind of in that area that I also think are interesting pivots, especially when you get to tournaments. In that same game, we mentioned Dinwiddie, but you've also got Ja Morant kind of in that range, and you've got a couple other guys in some of the later games. So I think there are some interesting pivots there. If a lot of people are not landing on Lowry, which they may not, and by a lot, I mean if he's 20%, then I would go with Lowry. If he crests up to that 25 or 30, then that's probably on a slate this size. That'll be where the congregation of the chalk lies. So then that becomes sort of a decision point because there's a lot of good alternate options there. You're not making silly decisions or secondary choices. There are some other good ones like him. But Jared Allen, 7,000 price coming up just a little bit. He has been outstanding his last 4 games. Also coinciding with the fact that he has not had more than 3 fouls in any of them, including 0 in one of those games. That was against Denver. He is playing in the upper 20s for minutes. In this stretch, he's scoring eyeballing at about 17 points per game. But on DK, he's got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 12 of his last 13, he's had double-digit rebounds and double-digit points, which gets you the double-double bonus. So that's always helpful. That extra 1.5 can actually propel you up the leaderboards. If with how tightly everything is packed in the NBA, you start to want to really consider those types of advantages. And I don't know that there are that many people that are as consistent as him in hitting it.
Don't love him at 7K. Like him a lot more at 6,700 on FanDuel. That's a pretty tasty price tag. I've got him in for 28 minutes right now. And you got to love that for some reason FanDuel has decided that Jared Allen is a power forward as if he is not their center. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Love him on FanDuel. Love Dinwiddie as well. 7,700 on both sites. A little bit better of a play on FanDuel than it is on DraftKings, but he's picking up a little bit of ownership. Showing Garrett Temple at 11% on both sites. That seems fine. You know what you're getting with Garrett Temple. A little bit of Joe Harris love. I don't really see it. It's Dinwiddie across both sites. Jared Allen on FanDuel for me as the clear best plays coming out of this game.
That's all we got on this one.
Perfect. Chicago Bulls, Los Angeles Clippers. Clippers 6-point favorites in Chicago. Best I could tell, everybody's good to go for Chicago. Pace up spot for the Clippers. I've put Lou Will in. I've put Pat Beverly in. These guys, and JaMychal Green. These guys are all questionable. Kawhi is the guy that I fully left out. If he plays a back-to-back today, kudos. He hasn't done it in like 3 years, so I'm going to just assume that he's out. And if that's the case, $8,300 for Paul George is stupid pricing. And if Lou Will or Pat Bev or JaMychal Green all lop themselves out of this lineup today, it's going to be even more ridiculous. He is chalky, as he should be. No ownership coming into these guys at FanDuel because Paul George is 10-6. They went ahead and got out in front of it. What stands out to you from the Clippers? That's a tough one to talk about as of right now.
I think it's going to be Montrezl Harrell. Outside of George, let me back up for a second. On FanDuel, really none of them. Lou Williams at 64 would be the guy I'm interested in. Perhaps Pat Beverly at 52. Outside of that, not really interested on FanDuel. Yahoo and FantasyDraft and DraftKings did not really up the pricing for the likelihood of Kawhi being out. This is what happens when you try not to drink caffeine, Josh. I'm drinking water. Normally, I'm on my 4th Diet Pepsi of the day. I'm on my 2nd glass of water today. Woohoo! That's fun. But yeah, Paul George, yes. Harrell, yes. And Lou Will across the board. I am not a fan of Mo Harkless. I liked him better when he was with Portland. I liked him particularly when he was playing those quick-paced Houston, Golden State, and back in the day, Sacramento teams. Sacramento not very fast-paced at this point. I don't like the way he fits in with Los Angeles from a fantasy perspective. He's a perfectly fine NBA player. He can come off the bench, he can start, and he plays multiple positions. He's absolutely fine from that standpoint. Problem is he doesn't have a defined role at this point, so that doesn't help us out in the fantasy world. So a little bit of a discount there on DK. I'm not going to stop him from coming in my lineups, but I won't come in. He was one of the guys I won't exceed the field, probably come in under on him. On the other side, Willie Carter Jr., very, very disappointing. Josh, what's been going on? It seems like not really been foul trouble, but just where's the fantasy production?
He's down a full 1/10 of a point per minute over his last 30 days in comparison to where I have him in my model. So it's been not great. Not great. Bulls in general, I mean, they're all kind of underperforming.
Yeah, he's not taken double-digit shots since November 29th. So that is 7 games. And in those 7 games, if we toss out a blowout against Atlanta where he played 23 minutes, but let me rephrase that. His most recent 3 is averaging 25. The 4 prior to that, averaging 36 minutes per game. So it's not a court time issue. He's just not shooting at all.
I can't wrap my head around this Bulls team. I don't.
Lauri Markkanen's been disappointing. Yeah. Chris Dunn's been disappointing. By the way, Chris Dunn is. I looked this up the other day and wrote about it. He is a foul monster.
Is he
Chris
really?
Dunn. I had no idea.
Neither did I.
He's got like a 5 per 36. It might even be a little higher. He's fouled out. When I wrote the piece, he had fouled out of 2 of his last 5 games.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of those where I'm like,
he has a 6.5% foul rate. That is the 0 percentile on cleaning the glass, and that has not been any different at any other stop. 4.9 last year, which was 8th percentile. 4.5 the year before in Chicago, 11th percentile. I did not realize that he was such a fouler. That's foul.
To the point of where I'm like, I need to treat him like we do Marquise Chris, like we do, a variety of other guys.
And just assume that they should be in the G League?
Yeah, Moritz Wagner. Some of these guys were like, they aren't going to be on the floor for more than 27 minutes because mathematically they can't be based on those foul rates. So, yeah, we'll see. Chat's wondering if they can trust anything I say without me being on caffeine.
I would say no, probably not.
Probably not. So I'm tempted to go grab a soda because I do have some in the fridge. I just am not drinking.
For it. I really don't like this game from a fantasy perspective until we get news from the Clippers. As we start losing the Lou Wills and Pat Bevs of the world, I think a little bit more could open up. But really, it's just lock and load Paul George on DK. Feel free to play some Lou Will on FanDuel if he's in. He's only 6,400 there. And on the Bulls side, I don't have a single player that I would recommend as what I would consider to be some sort of core play. I think Chris Dunn and Kobe White both look fine from a value perspective in the mid-4s, but this one's just really unappealing.
I think if we get to 50 likes, I'll go get a soda.
There you go. Hit that like button, everybody. Subscribe to the channel, too. But we really need to step up the like game on the strategy shows. I don't know what we can do to do that. Get too many views for that show, not nearly enough likes, and I'm pretty sure it's the best in the business. So I think we need to make those views and likes slowly come up. I think we keep it moving to a fantasy gold mine. The Memphis Grizzlies and the Washington Wizards, miraculously, unless I typed this incorrectly, the Washington Wizards are favored in Memphis, and they barely have a starting center. We'll start on the Memphis side. I've got Ja Morant in. I've got Brandon Clark in. Fully expecting them to be ready to go as a full squad here. Don't think Grayson Allen is playing. He would be the only actual guy out, but I don't think it matters. We've got Jaren Jackson Jr., 25 to 30% owned. Jay Crowder, Dylan Brooks picking up a little bit of ownership. I would say that the guy that stands out most to me, and I hate it, but I say it every day, it's probably Jay Crowder. His minutes seem to be most consistent of anybody on the Grizzlies. He's in the mid-5s. He's like a 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy. You know what you're getting. It's just a really easy guy to play. Not going to be super sexy to have him, but consistency is key sometimes. Dylan Brooks on DraftKings at 5,100. That seems like a pretty good price. I think Jaren Jackson is a little bit overowned, especially with Morant and Brandon Clark back. But you're not going to be too mad having shares of Memphis in a very fast game that will have very little defense. We get those likes yet? You drinking soda?
We did. I'll get one when we transition to the next game. They came racing in. So.
Sounds good. What do you
But
think?
this
what do you
game,
like
this
with
game, I
Memphis?
like best. Yeah, best game on the slate. So I don't want to bail just yet. I agree. Jay Crowder, one of the better plays, priced appropriately. This is the type of game that absolutely fits his skill set. It's going to be fast. There's going to be open looks from the elbow. He's going to have chances in transition, both as a secondary passer and as a finisher. This should be a really good game. From a fantasy perspective, I'm surprised that Washington is favored by 1, but weird stuff happens. We have Isaiah Thomas, who on Instagram earlier this week told his supporters that if he was on their fantasy team, they should drop him. He may not be back until February.
That's 6 weeks from now. Today.
I'm just saying what I read this morning. So I don't know. You said doubtful has different meanings, perhaps.
I mean, he's listed as questionable today.
All right, let me see.
I mean, you're not wrong in what you're saying, but he is listed as questionable on the injury report.
This was on December 20th. Isaiah Thomas, drop me, bro.
What
Don't
day?
Wait. December. Oh, this is from last year. Oh. I wonder if the thing I read picked up something wrong.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it did.
I bet it did. Very tricky.
Yeah, I have him in.
Okay.
I don't think that matters all that much. I don't really want to be playing Ish Smith now that he is priced accordingly. Certainly it takes away some minutes, but they're a bit short-handed today. No Mo Wagner, which leaves them with just Jan Mahinmi as a legitimate center. That's fun. There's so much value on Washington right now. Beal looks great because he's going to try to do everything at 9,300 on DraftKings. Rui is going to be the backup center. He is 6,800 on FanDuel and 6,900 on DraftKings. Love him on FanDuel. I have Troy Brown as one of my favorite plays of the day on FanDuel, 4,700. I've got him in for 28 minutes. And then if Isaiah Thomas is in and not out until February, I think he looks pretty good for 5K on FanDuel. And then you got to talk a little bit about Jan Mahinmi, 4,400 FanDuel, 4,200 DraftKings. He's going to play as many minutes as he can handle.
I'm looking here. So let's see. I bet they may have pulled the wrong thing. So it looks like I may have, not to be picking on them, but it looks like a Roto World one that may have caught my eye that I saw where they're mentioning that. But even 5 days ago, they said he would miss 1 to 2 weeks. But that's in the range of we're being 1 week out. There's another one here that says he could be returning soon. So they're all over the board on Isaiah Thomas. But you're right. If he's in, cross off Ish Smith. That's just not going to happen. Those guys are duplicative.
You can cross off Ish Smith one way or the other.
Yeah. Troy Brown, you're absolutely right. I also like him on DraftKings, where I believe he's still shooting guard, small forward eligible. So he pretty much fits on every position with the exception of center. I think Bradley Beal is fine. I think I'd rather play Ja Morant than Bradley Beal for the discount, just based on where it is. And then I had one other guy I liked from the Wizards. Oh, my new favorite Wizard. I'm announcing it today. There was trials. It's been Kelly Oubre, and then they traded him, and then it was going to be Portis, Satoransky, or Parker.
Now it's
none
Bertans.
Of them are on the team. It's Bertans.
Don't worry, he'll be traded soon enough.
Yes. I don't know what you do with this price because you need him to take 12 3-pointers and make half of them. Guess what he's done for like his last 5 games? Take 12 3-pointers and make half of them. He is just there was a clip on Twitter last night. I sent it to Adam. It was showing him taking some sort of shooting drill where he was just draining them from like 35, 40 feet. I haven't seen anything quite like this in a long time. Now, guys, just so you know, this is, oh my God, almost 20 years ago now. Sam Perkins, may have heard of him. He was a big
excellent
center.
coach for the Raptors, right?
Big Smooth was I think was his nickname. I went to a couple Sonics games, and he was just standing there walking around the arc, just making he made 27 out of 33 pointers, just making. But there's nobody in his face, and he would shoot three. He was
he became the first stretch fives.
Yeah, he was one of the guys that started that revolution. He had the slowest freaking shot of all time. So nobody could be around him within 6 feet. And by the time he got it off, they were usually within a foot of him. But he was just phenomenal when nobody's there. Most NBA players are pretty damn good when no one's around. But Bertans has just been, beyond any wildest expectation. So I wanted to call this up here. So he is averaging over his last 5 games 16 field goal attempts, and he is just dropping the threes. These are his 3-point makes: 8, 6, 5, 7, 4, 6. That's pretty good. That's really impressive. He's getting in the mid-20s for minutes, and the Wizards need him to keep shooting because they got to have somebody open it up so Beal can drive to the basket, and it's really Bertans because they don't have any other shooters. But
you ready for a hot take?
Okay.
Davis Bertans is not in my player pool on DraftKings.
The price. It's all about the price, isn't it?
Yeah. 6,400 on FanDuel. I will get there. 6,800 on DraftKings. He will not be available to show up in a lineup.
He is. He also, I don't think, made it on the first 2 cheat sheets that are under your name in DraftKings and FanDuel.
You can change the name, take credits on the weekend.
But then you have to change it back. That's extra work for you.
I think it gets changed automatically. Maybe, I guess it doesn't if you're editing the same post. I don't know.
Secret, on Saturdays, it's me doing the cheat sheets.
That's true story. Secret.
But yeah, I couldn't justify putting him in. And I agree with you. Outside of game stacks, I don't know that I can get him today, because the risk is, what if he makes 3 of those 12 3-pointers? You've got problems all of a sudden, because there goes almost a third of his points.
Right. You have no other choice for him. Yeah. He has to be all over it. Do I still have percentage of? No, I don't. And I don't want to try to figure out how to calculate that right now. So yeah, I am not a big fan of Bertans on DraftKings. If I'm ranking guys on DK, it's Beal, Brown, and then potentially Isaiah Thomas if he is in. On FanDuel, it's Brown, Rui, Mahinmi, Beal. Ultimately, you're just playing a boatload of Washington tonight, one way or the other.
Yeah. Mahinmi's kind of interesting. I didn't really know what to do with him. What is he in the around 4K? I think on both sides. I just closed out that window accidentally.
4,400 on FanDuel, 4,200 on DraftKings.
Okay, I was gonna guess 43, so that works. But if he can get 20, 22 minutes, the game might be too fast for him. Now, he's not a big lumbering guy, but he's coming off an Achilles, a ruptured Achilles, a bunch of other issues that have just kind of sapped him. I mean, the weight of carrying that contract and having to carry those checks to the bank all the time.
Those zeros weigh a lot.
4 years, 60 million or whatever it was. Good God. Way to go.
I think he plays every single minute that Jonas Valanciunas is on the floor.
That would be the one way I see it. But I think if Jonas... So here's the question. And this is the crux of all of it. How much do you think Jonas plays? If he gets 30 minutes, he's going to get 60 fantasy points. I'm not being hyperbolic here.
I have him in for 26. I don't like him.
Really?
Yeah. 7,300, right? Jonas Valanciunas at 26 minutes, not in my DraftKings player pool. I'm firing bullets today. I got some leftover Adderall in my system still. I'm laser focused. No Joe Val for me on DraftKings as of now. Please don't take this to heart and come back to me at 7:05 tonight and be like, Josh said don't play Joe Val. This slate is going to look
last night you different. Said don't. You said fade Harden, apparently, according to chat. You don't watch sports, according to chat.
I certainly don't watch sports, but I don't know when I said fade Harden. I mean, 12-8 Harden on DraftKings was not a good play, no matter how many fantasy, even at 80, that bears out in the ownership and the top scores. On FanDuel, I had 2x the field, so.
All right, I'm getting my
Everybody
soda.
Can see that shit on Live Before Lock.
I'm going to get my soda now that we've thrown that grenade.
Go for it. I'm going to walk through a little bit more of this game. I really do think that exposure here is going to be paramount. Like getting Memphis and Washington right is going to be paramount. Troy Brown does feel like the safest option on FanDuel. 4,700 is just perfect price. Even if he only gets 26 minutes, that's still a decent value. So yeah, FanDuel ranks for me on the Wizards. Brown, Rui, Mahinmi, IT if he is in, Beal after that. But fade Bertans on DraftKings, guys. You need 47 fantasy points to hit value the way that I have it calculated right now. That's tough. That's a tough one. I don't know if you heard me there. I have Bertans' target score on DraftKings at 47. It's gonna be a tough sell.
That feels right. He dropped 50 in his last game. I don't know. We'll get back-to-back 50 burgers from him.
Do you have anything else in Memphis and Washington?
No, I think that covers a lot of what we needed to say.
Pay attention to the news. If Isaiah Thomas is out, like Chris Chiozza will get more minutes, but Ish Smith is already appropriately priced, so just skip that one. Hit that like button too while you're here, guys. Do that. Dallas Mavericks, Miami Heat, Mavs. Are the Mavs really 7.5 point favorites? Ooh.
The Heat did play last night, and they're going to be sad because they lost their first game at home this season.
Luka Mania. Running wild.
Well, let's start there.
Yeah, 12.
Can you afford Luka today?
12K on FanDuel, 12K on DraftKings. You can certainly afford him on FanDuel. No problem there. Although I would much rather have James Harden without Russell Westbrook. Although he's already at 40% ownership, so might not be all that interesting. But Luka very clearly the second best pay-up option. Prefer Luka slightly to Brad Beal. On DraftKings, I would rather have Harden at 12.9 than Luka. I think that might even be feasible. You could probably flip a coin for me on Giannis at 11.5 with Luka. Not super enamored with the Luka Doncic price on DK, and this is not a great spot for him against Miami. The guy that I like the most on the Mavs is probably $4,400 Tim Hardaway on DraftKings. Yuck. What about you? Where you stand?
Oh, I just close something. So I agree with you. Luka's just too expensive at this point to really look. He's phenomenal. He's in his second year. He's what, second or third in the league with 30 points per game. He's averaging almost a triple-double. This is just unbelievable. Matchup's a little tough for me. I like his floor, but his floor is probably 40, 45 fantasy points. His ceiling is probably 60, 65. That's really not enough. That's not the lurking 80 fantasy point performance that we would need to make him an excellent tournament option. He can be a building block for you, but there's better point per dollar plays out there that aren't even that risky, especially on DraftKings. You got a bunch of guards in that high 6s to low 8 range, and a couple power forwards there that I think you're better off going to. So for me, as much as I like Luka Doncic, he almost got to be called Duka Doncic. Apparently this Pepsi's not taking effect fast enough. I've moved on to spoonerisms instead of combining names.
Inject it right into your veins if you have to.
What other malapropism can I come up with on this show? We will find out. But I think at this point, I don't see him on more than 15-20% of my lineups, and it would probably be me. So this is what I do in situations like this. If we come in a lot of times with what our projections are saying, even with a healthy randomness on it, which would increase the band of the outcomes, I still won't get the number that we're projecting for the ownership. So a lot of times what I have to do in these situations, if it's somebody I want some representation on my teams, say he's at 20%. I would go in and set him at 10, and then I would just set him at 65 fantasy points or something that would get him into those 10% of the lineups, but I wouldn't want it to be more. That's how I handle some of these guys that are outliers like this. Otherwise, like James Harden last night, I will literally end up with 0 in my lineups. That doesn't mean it's good or bad, but I would like a little bit of Luka on this one tonight.
Okay. Don't have much interest in Porzingis. 100% not interested on
Porzingis will not make a team of mine tonight, I do not think.
Ooh, 6,600 on DraftKings. I don't have much of an issue there. The only unappealing option or part of this is that he's 22% owned already. But 6,600, I can't get away from that number in its entirety. But yeah, I think Tim Hardaway Jr. on DraftKings is the best Dallas play. 4,400 is just too cheap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have much.
You like him
and by the way, I have DeLon Wright in as of right now.
Okay.
I don't think that changes anything that much for me. Seth Curry is now 4K on FanDuel and 4,500. Even with some additional minutes, I'm not wild about it.
Would you like Troy Brown or the savings down there to Tim Hardaway Jr.?
Ooh, that's a good question. Troy Brown, 5K. Tim Hardaway Jr., 44. I would rather have Tim Hardaway Jr. than Troy Brown.
Okay.
As of right now. On the Miami side, I will be going back to Jimmy Butler on FanDuel at 9,400. Don't really hate the $9,400 tag on DraftKings, but it's much less appealing. But to me, the best play on Miami is a no-brainer. 5,100 on FanDuel, Kendrick Nunn. He's 33% owned already. That number should be massively higher. If I'm playing, I would assume I'd end up with 60 or 70. He would be one of my most exposed guys. $1,300 cheaper than he is on DraftKings. We're seeing Duncan Robinson get some love. Derrick Jones Jr. get some love. Little bit to Tyler Hero. I would go Nunn, Butler, Robinson, Jones on FanDuel. 9,200 for Bam just feels a little pricey. 8,100 on DraftKings, a little bit better, but Bam's not a guy that I'm looking at all that much. This is Butler and then Nunn on FanDuel. Talk to me about your Miami Heat.
So I have said on a lot of shows, but you don't do the shows with me, so you don't know these things. But I have kind of turned around a little bit on Kendrick Nunn and Tyler Hero. Main reason is because they're getting the minutes. And we saw what they could do at the very beginning of the season, and then we had Dragic and Winslow and everybody was healthy for a stretch. So they were kind of like fool's gold at that point. Nunn, I think, is the better play. Kendrick Nunn, that is. And the 6,100, little bit higher than I would like to see on DraftKings, but I think he's most definitely in the player pool. I would actually, and he's for sure on FanDuel, I would actually lean towards Tyler Hero for the $2,100 discount on this particular one. And I think Hero's going to be in that mix with Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., et cetera, as sort of my cannon fodder that's filling out my lineups and just coming in and making it work with the guys at the high end, and then a couple super cheap punts that inevitably will appear. So I'm good with that. I think Derrick Jones is interesting. Eddie was like 2 games too early for him. I saw him up there on a few of the tournament leaderboard teams last night. I don't know that I had him on any of my teams because I just felt he was too boom or bust. But he is someone that's at 3,800 and multi-position eligible on DraftKings. He's going to be in the mix.
I don't know what to do with him. I hate that.
Has he surpassed Kelly Olynyk at this point, assuming he doesn't get fouls?
Seems it. 28 minutes in his last one, went for 35 on Tuesday. He's been at 26 minutes or higher for this entire stretch that Justice Winslow has been out. I gave him 26 as well in this one, so tons of upside in that number too. I might have him underrepresented. Yeah, I might need to go to 28, and at 3,800, happy to get there. I like Miami more than most people. Weird like that. I don't have anything else in this game, though.
Duncan Robinson's price is dramatically different between the sides.
4,400 on FanDuel, 5,700 on DraftKings.
I was going to make something like him being the poor man's Davis Bertans, but he's really not. He's as overpriced as Davis is right now for basically a 3-point shooter. They're basically the on-fire version of JJ Redick, I guess, from a fantasy perspective right now.
I thought Redick was going to go bonkers yesterday. I had a ton of him on FanDuel because he had like a stupid low FanDuel price compared to DraftKings. Started off pretty hot too. Cooled off a little.
Was he familiar with the shooting backdrop last night?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Wasn't that game in Philadelphia?
I don't know. Was it?
I forget you don't watch these games.
Oh, I watched these games. I did not watch that game. I didn't watch anything yesterday except for the back of my eyelids. By the time we hit lock, I wanted no part of anything. Let's keep it moving.
And see, chat. That's why there wasn't an early bird podcast, because Josh didn't want to set the record of most shows that would be completely untouchable on Awesemo because everybody was traveling. Yeah, it was down to Josh or we go to bed early. Josh made the right choice.
Yeah, we would have just been doing this show twice, which is I had no energy to do that. Milwaukee Bucks, Cleveland Cavaliers. Bucks 13-point favorites in Cleveland. Kind of makes me feel like Giannis is out because they should be more like 150 points favored. But right now, I'm assuming that Giannis is in. He is 12-2 on FanDuel, 11-5 on DraftKings. I got to some shares of Giannis. I'm cool with it. I like him more on FanDuel than I do on DK. I do not have much interest in Milwaukee if Giannis is in. It's just Cleveland's just so bad that this is going to be a game where they play 12 dudes and they all play 22 minutes apiece. What do you want from Milwaukee?
Like you, Giannis to be out.
Yeah.
Literally nothing if he's in. I just there's all right. That's not fair. Let's look and see. There should be something even if he's in. George Hill, also familiar with the shooting background in Cleveland, but this game's not in Cleveland.
I guess we need to talk about Bledsoe's health too. He left.
Yeah, Bledsoe's dinged up. Yeah, so I would say on both DK and FanDuel, regardless of Antetokounmpo's status, I think DiVincenzo and George Hill are in play. They're really, really cheap. I like them better. I think they have more upside than Wesley Matthews, who is about the same price and maybe a tick ahead of them in the rotation. If Bledsoe is out, those guys are both become really, really good plays because they're going to be the co-ball handlers there when Giannis is off the floor. And if Giannis is out, they're good plays. So basically, if Giannis or Bledsoe is out, I think DiVincenzo and George Hill become two of the better value plays tonight in what still should be ideally an easy win. If we ask Houston and San Antonio, Cleveland may not be as easy to beat as some people think, but outside of that, they get frisky every now and then, but what do you have their plus minus differential for points scored in one of your little spreadsheets there?
For the Cavs?
Yeah.
I have cleaning the glass up. I can get there in a couple seconds. They are
like 7
minus 9.6, third worst in the league. Okay. Only ahead of, tied with the Knicks and Atlanta in that spot, and then Golden State minus 10.1.
Yeah, a lot of in this one I think is worth talking through just for a second, guys. So you see where I'm getting here. So the last game they actually won. Game before that lost by 6. Game before that lost by 12. Game before that got their ass kicked, lost by almost 50. Lost by 6. Lost by 30. Lost by 9. Lost by 12. Lost by 2. Won by 6. What I'm saying here is some of these games are a little closer than expected. Down the stretch, but I think that's because teams' second units are coming in and potentially giving up a little bit of ground. It's a long way of saying I still think there's going to be reasonable opportunity here for the bench unit for the Bucks, and I see several different paths for DiVincenzo and Hill to have solid games for their extremely discounted sub 4K price points. I'm comfortable with them regardless of what's happening. They will be boosted into the forefront should we be missing Giannis or Bledsoe. But even if they were to both play, I don't see the need for them playing more than 30 minutes. So I still think the trickle-down effect exists for the back half of that rotation.
Pricing is so stupid. Like, if Giannis is out, Ersan Ilyasova is the flat min on FanDuel and 4,900 on DraftKings. You play Ersan Ilyasova in like 70% of your lineups if Giannis is out on FanDuel, and you can like largely ignore him on DraftKings. It's craziness. Absolute craziness. But yeah, George Hill, DiVincenzo going to look pretty good if Bledsoe ends up being out. It's really hard to say anything else about Milwaukee until we get that sort of information. On the Cleveland side, I think $5,700 Tristan Thompson looks pretty good, and $3,700 Larry Nance is... I see no reason not to play him. I can't imagine getting away from $3,700 Larry Nance. Am I nuts there? We haven't projected for 5% ownership.
Have you looked at his recent production?
Does it matter?
Yes. So last game, 29 points, 15 fantasy points. 28 minutes, 15 fantasy points. 18 minutes, 12 fantasy points. 20 minutes, 16 fantasy points. 17 minutes, 6 fantasy points. 40 minutes, he must have had a monster there. Nope, 21 fantasy points. I don't know what's going on, but he is not producing.
What you're saying is he's due.
Yes, much like Dwayne Dedmon is due. How can these perfectly viable, and I don't mean just from a fantasy perspective, but actually legitimate basketball players go to teams and just die? Kenneth Faried, is he even in the league right now? Tell me he's hurt or suspended.
I don't believe that he is on a roster.
I don't understand that. This is like, I mean, remember when he was coming off the bench as the pseudo center for the Rocket? This is his type of NBA, and now he's not on a team. It's legitimate players like that are just marginalized. And these guys are not Fareed, but these guys are locked into contracts. You know, they're not playing.
Oh, that Larry Nance contract that Cleveland gave him was atrocious the moment they signed it to.
Yeah, why did I don't understand. Because his dad played there? His dad was awesome, by the way.
Probably, yeah.
Did you ever see highlights of his
nasty dunker?
Yeah, did you ever see highlights of his two ball dunk in the dunk contest?
Yeah. I'm not so young that I don't remember Larry Nance Sr. I mean, he was in like basketball card packs when I was a kid.
Okay.
35. Not like
okay. Yeah, so
I'm not young. Yeah, I'm not Adam. All I like here is Tristan Thompson
or Jake.
Or Jake. Yeah, I mean Jake would have no idea. I'm gonna play Larry Nance more than the field at 3,700 on DraftKings. For sure.
Ooh.
For sure. He's gonna get slept on today. Keep an eye on it, guys. Keep an eye on it.
These are fair points.
Even no matter how bad we think he's been, he's still a 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy over the last 30 days.
Is he really?
I have his actual talent higher than that, but he's at 0.89 FanDuel points per minute in the last 30 days. So, like, obviously it's been bad for the last week and a half. Like, really bad, but kind of there. Sign me up at 3,700 and then throw the rest of the Cavs in the garbage. 2 to go.
Jonathan Akers, YouTube chat. May want to check those data sources. Those are...
Yeah. At least one of those is 100% untrue.
Thanks for watching, though. We appreciate your views.
Denver Nuggets, Oklahoma City Thunder, 105.75 implied total for the Nugs, 99.25 for the Thunder. Jokic for 8,600 on DraftKings and Jamal Murray for 5,900 on DK are the only guys in double digits of projected ownership in this entire game. Murray is without question my favorite play on DK. Will Barton would probably be that guy on FanDuel. The three names that I just mentioned, Jokic, Murray, and Barton, are the only guys that I want in all of this. You can talk me into a share or two of Dennis Schroeder, but I don't want anything from Oklahoma City. This is a terrible fantasy game outside of some pricing quirks for the Nuggets. Do you see anything slipping through the cracks?
You said you don't like anything from Oklahoma City.
No. Nor does the public.
No
one in double digits of ownership on this slate.
Steven Adams, 6,200 on DK, a little bit interesting. Jeremy Grant, but he's not on the Thunder, but I do like him.
Yeah, revenge narrative.
He's played for a lot of teams. Does he get revenge for his uncle and his dad's teams that they used to play for?
I don't think so. I don't think he rolls into Chicago and against the Bullets.
Orlando.
Yeah, was it Orlando too?
New York. Well, it's hard. God damn, I was going to combine their names too. Horace and Harvey Grant. They were actually twins.
Horace Grant is one of the most underrated basketball players that has ever played. He just doesn't get
the goggles. The goggles were a touch. Those were nice.
He just doesn't get
accented with the team colors. Those were good.
Good. So good. Essential piece of those early Bulls teams. I can't recommend anything from Oklahoma City. Just play Jokic on play Jokic on DraftKings and play all of the Jamal Murray you want at 5,900 on DK. One of my favorite plays of the day.
Really?
Yeah.
He didn't make your cheat sheets, just so you know.
No? He should have.
Somebody went and looked at the game logs and saw that they were not that exciting. He's a guy I think has all the talent in the world and just he's going down the Gary Harris path of irrelevancy. And I know why Harris is going down that path now, but I have
Gary
no
Harris
idea
is irrelevant from an offensive perspective. Still a fantastic defender.
Oh, phenomenal defender. He's just the fact that now the team's gotten better at every position around him. They don't need him to do anything anymore. Go guard that guy. And he's like, okay,
got it.
That works for me.
He's usurped Torrey Craig as the token defender on the wing.
Yes. And he will have once a month, he will have a 40 fantasy point game. The rest of the time, he's going to barely crack 20. That's just what it's going to be for Gary Harris. I don't know what's going on with Murray. He loses assists because of the way they run the offense through Jokic. He loses scoring because Will Barton has suddenly decided that he's going to be a phenomenal three-point shooter at this point in his career, and he's going to get drives and all of that. So it's like, where is his lane? And because everybody has direct backups in the hockey line shifting there, they don't stagger a ton of their guys in Denver. And he's just he's a victim of circumstance, I think. But I think he's a wildly talented player. But he needs to get drives and score. How do you feel about him driving against Steven Adams? Not great.
Not at 4,800 on FanDuel.
No.
Yeah. Jokic and Murray for me, a little bit of Barton.
Okay.
And then Oklahoma City, as far as I can we could remove them from the slate. I think sadly. Schroeder might be the only guy in my player pool on DraftKings.
He is the only player on your cheat sheet as well.
Look
at that. It's like I was using your model.
Actually, the real answer is only Gilgeous Alexander on DraftKings. I don't know why Schroeder is not there, but he should be. I don't have anything else to talk about in this game. It's the least appealing game on the slate.
No, it is. Yeah, it's just a mess. Denver favored by 6.5 in the Pepsi Center. 204 over under, lowest on the slate. Jokic. It's a fine DraftKings price, but do a little game log surfing. What has he done recently? What is his game? Last thing we'll look at. How has he done fared against Steven Adams? Of course, they've played each other a million times. So let's go look and see.
I have no idea.
All right. Hat tip the stat muse for me doing. Oh, wow. All right. In his last 7 times that they have squared off, how many has he scored 50 or more? There's our arbitrary cutoff.
Definitely between 0 and 7.
It's actually 5.
Nailed it.
50, you did. 50, 67, 61, 31, 58, 77, 35. So defense doesn't matter, as they like to say. Those would all be phenomenal performances for what he's doing now, because he's just not doing that because he's not scoring. But if we look at the minutes, none of them overly egregious. 34, 35, 36, 27, 41 was a big one, 37, 28. So I think on DraftKings he's in play for tournaments. And I don't like to throw that around lightly because, as Lofty likes to point out, everybody's in play in tournaments. He will be in my tournament player pool. I will at least be where the field is on Jokic tonight. Depending on what happens, I may go above.
I think I would be way above, but there's one guy that you should be above on, at least on FanDuel. We'll see what we can do on DK. Houston Rockets, Detroit Pistons. Rockets 7-point favorites at home against Detroit. The expected scenario for the Rockets right now is that Russell Westbrook will not be playing, at which point load up your James Harden shares, specifically on FanDuel. He's already at 40% ownership. Ben McLemore in the 20s, PJ Tucker in the 20s, Daniel House on the 20s. 33% owned Daniel House on DraftKings at 4,100 is the best play on DK from the Rockets. What do you want to do with old James at 12-9 on DK today?
He would be the reason that I'm not really getting to Luka Doncic. Yeah. I'm assuming Westbrook is out. 70 fantasy points, very, very, very much in play. Gus up to 80. Would it be a shock if he took, I haven't looked at his recent game logs. I will set and I'm choking up on this. I will set the over-under on 3-point attempts for him, 16.5.
Seems safe.
I have no idea what he's done, but to me, it just, yeah, it's time. It's time to go to Mr. Harden here.
Yeah. Let me pull this back up. I ran Wowie for Westbrook off, and I just needs to be shown here. So Houston Rockets with Russell Westbrook off the floor this season. I'll even leave Eric Gordon on. James Harden has played 336 minutes with no Russell Westbrook on the floor. That's 743 possessions. Do you have a guess as to what his usage rate is in that time?
44.5.
You aren't even close.
54.7. I almost went 50, but that fell a bit much.
He has taken 277 field goal attempts in that time, which is crazy. He's taken 344 true shooting attempts. So it's like basically just like the true shooting percentage. That's a shot. That's more than a shot per minute. Every single time down the floor, this dude is taking the shot for the team. It's insane. Insane. He's averaging 1.82 FanDuel points per minute. He's averaging 1.97 DraftKings points per minute when Russell Westbrook is not on the floor.
Travis Duarte wants to know, is this the 100-point game tonight?
If they were playing a different team, I think it would be possible. Like if this were
real
Rockets
points or
Wizards or something.
Real points? I think he's talking real points, not fantasy.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about as well.
Okay.
It's just not like a great, Pistons don't play fast enough, I think, to get there. He'd have to be like highly efficient shooting. Look, just load him up. Play some Ben McLemore at 4,500 on FanDuel. Get some Daniel House in your life at 4,100 on DraftKings. He actually might be one of my favorite plays of the day on DK. Yeah, he is my top play of the day on DraftKings today.
He is wildly popular.
Yeah, 33% owned. Don't let that steer you off of him, though. Although he stinks from a fantasy perspective.
We don't call him Ben. Oh, never mind. You were talking about House.
Yes. I don't call House Ben at all, ever.
Is that Danuel?
Yes, Danwell House.
Danwell? Okay.
Shouts to Spags on that one. There's no way he's watching this at 7:49 a.m. Saturday.
We can clip this and send it to him. Wait, that would be work. I have so much other actual stuff that's going up for the content today. I don't have time to screw around.
That one was bad. That one was real bad. Fire up James Harden. I don't know what else to tell you guys. He's going to have a 50% usage rate in this spot. There's very little downside. I have his target score on FanDuel. Oh my God. At 68. I have him projected for 65.5.
Yeah, I was going to say that doesn't feel like it's out of range. Whereas, what do you have Luka projected for?
On FanDuel,
your target range will be a couple points below that, but what is he?
Yeah, so on FanDuel, I have Luka at 55.8. Needs to hit 66.
Yeah.
They're not comparable today on FanDuel.
No. And this is the interesting thing because, I mean, we talked about I did not have Harden last night on DK, 0 in my lineups. Tonight, he is going to be a cornerstone of mine. I'm not going to I don't think I'll write him up in the primetime player article because I think you still have to stretch a little bit to get him, and I don't think you have to have him. But I think he's someone that is he has we really, really, really could see an 80, 85 fantasy point night tonight from him. Do you feel
Easily.
that is like a 1 in 4, 1 in 5, 1 in 4 outcome?
How many points?
80.
I can give you an actual answer.
See, look at this. Josh has some amazing.
This is going to be from a FanDuel perspective, but it's basically the same question. One way or
about
the
the same.
I have him at a 27% chance of scoring 80 fantasy.
Okay.
I have 12% chance of 90.
Oh boy.
And a 4% chance at 100.
Yeah. We haven't seen anybody get 100 yet this year, I don't think, have we?
I don't think so. But yeah, that's where we're at.
I think it's
I have a 14% chance that he scores less than 50. Just play James Harden.
God, maybe he should be the featured play today. I don't know. I have a hard time picking someone that is appropriately priced at that level because you're earmarking so much of your salary cap to him.
Yeah. You should do that anyway. Play James Harden. Figure it out. On the Pistons side, a little bit of Drummond works on FanDuel at 10K. It's fine. I don't have much interest in Blake there or anybody else from the Pistons on FanDuel. On DK, though, Blake Griffin is 6,400, and I don't care how shitty he's been. I'm going to play Blake Griffin at 6,400. No choice.
Yeah. That feels... Yeah. At some point, you've got to just look at the numbers. Now, I still think Bogdanovich is not right, and I couldn't get there last night, and a lot of people played him in cash. I understand why, but I feel a little bit better about Blake in this matchup just because I think the number of rebounds that could be available to him, even with Drummond and Capella out there, I think are decent. I think there'll be enough half-court set type stuff or sort of setup offense that'll still run relatively quickly that he's going to be okay, even if he's still kind of a step behind. I don't think that's going to impact him. And I don't see who's really going to guard him well. I guess it would be PJ Tucker maybe out on the wing. Yeah. And I think he can still be a secondary facilitator from there and still score, even in his, shaking the rust off phase. That's the only explanation I have for how he's been now. So I think at 64, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, it's really hard for him to fail there. Target score at 6,400 is going to be like 45 as of right now, depending on any news. You're not surprised if Blake Griffin gets to 45 today. He's just been pretty putrid as of late. All right, give me your favorite plays for DraftKings today. I'll hit the people with the FanDuels.
All right, let me undo all my filters here and get to the full player pool. Let's eliminate some of our guys by minutes. I think Kyle Lowry, Blake, Harrell, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Paul George.
Here we go. Point guard for me on FanDuel today, we're going to be looking at Spencer Dinwiddie, Kendrick Nunn, Isaiah Thomas if he is in. Shooting guard, obviously James Harden, although I do still like Jimmy Butler. Norm Powell, if Fred VanVleet is out, is my actual favorite shooting guard, the guy that I would expect to get the most of, just because he's 4,900. And then don't sleep on Ben McLemore. Small forward's going to be Troy Brown, number 1 with a bullet. The rest of the dudes at small forward look super alike, so I'll just rotate through Siakam, Barton, Crowder, OG, Kevin Porter, Derek Jones, but Troy Brown's the star there. Power forward on FanDuel is gross. Rui Hachimura at 6,800, Jared Allen 6,700 would be the 2 primary guys. I think that I would have a staggering amount of both and just hope that the rest of the guys suck. And then at center, I think Drummond is the best option if you need to pay up, but Jan Mahinmi at 4,400 is the star. And I use the term star loosely.
All right.
7 up, 7 down.
Dropping the link to my pinned tweet. This is how you get in the Fred Van Elite contest. If you win with an Osmo avatar, you will get 30 free days of Osmo premium content. You need to reach out to me in Slack. If you are a member, if you are not a member, you can reach out to me on Twitter. If Fred VanVleet is ruled out before the tip-off of his game, I will play his direct backup. If we have no word, and we have had no word in the past, I will take him in my lineup.
There you go. Coming up after this, Chris Randone, Sal Vetri, I believe, talking some NFL for the final time. EMAC will be back later tonight with Fast Eddie Fear for Live Before Lock, no later than 6:30. Could get you guys a little bit earlier. And I
have a feeling Eddie's going to want to go early. There's enough interesting stuff today.
Yeah. Anything else?
I have sent a message to him. It will be on Twitter, and I will change the start time of the YouTube channel or the YouTube event if we are going early, and we would go at 6:15 if we do go early.
There we go. Anything else, EMAC?
No, you're going to get the Cash Game Building Blocks article in about 45 minutes. After that, you will get the Yahoo $175,000 baller contest. That thing is still not filled all the way yet this season, but you'll want to check that out. Those will both be free articles. You can scroll to the bottom of either one of those, and you will get the information, promo code, and link on how to get $30 matched by Yahoo with your initial DFS deposit bonus.
There we go. Thank you guys for joining us. Please hit the like button on your way out the door. Watch the UFC pay-per-view tonight because it is a sick card from top to bottom. I will be watching it and hopefully sweating it in Slack, but we'll see what the wife drags me to. So best of luck tonight, and we will talk to you again later.